What is happening, YouTube? Cowboy here, and today I wanted to talk about all the different stuff that you don't need to worry about until New Game Plus. So with all the build videos I've been putting out, there's lots of questions like how do you remodel gear, what is divine gear, how do you get +5 swords, what is that crazy soul core? And the simple answer to all of these questions is you don't need to worry about it until New Game Plus. Nioh is very similar to something like Diablo or Path of Exile or Monster Hunter in the sense that there is a lot of content locked behind your initial playthrough of the game. Whereas something like Dark Souls New Game Plus, there might be, an extra enemy here or there. Nioh's real game, the real gameplay, doesn't even begin until you've beat the final boss. Everything up until that point is essentially a tutorial teaching you how to play. And so today we're going to cover all that content that you have waiting for you. Now, some obvious spoilers, since we're going to be talking about New Game Plus, I'm not going to show you guys the final boss or anything, but we are going to be talking about missions and regions and all that jazz. So to jump straight into it, we have 6 primary missions in the game: Awakening, Soaring, Shadow, Dawn, Twilight, and Dream. Now, after you've beaten these, you gain access to Afterglow. Once you get into Afterglow, you'll have 2 main missions and 1 side mission, and when you defeat the final boss in the Eye of the Beholder, you'll then unlock the next difficulty. That difficulty being Dream of the Strong. Now, if they follow the same naming schema as the additional Nioh, we have a couple more difficulties on the way. We'll have Dream of the Demon, Dream of the Wise, and Dream of the Nioh. If we also follow the same logic that the original did, these difficulties are also going to coincide with each additional release of DLC. So the first DLC will give us Dream of the Demon, the second Dream of the Wise, etc. As we go on up in difficulties, we also gain access to even higher tiers of gear. But when it comes to divine gear, that is something you gain access to in Dream of the Strong. Now, the very first time you get divine gear is going to be after you beat the final boss in Afterglow. After that point, you can get divine gear at any point in the game. And let's talk about why divine gear is something you're going to want. Now, when we look at weapon rarity, we have white, blue. Let me sort this by rarity, actually, to make this discussion even easier. So we have white, yellow, blue, purple, and green. Now, right now, when you look at a white piece of gear, you'll notice that we have 1 primary effect on it generally and 1 bonus is fixed. Every piece of gear is going to have a primary effect. That's what that little icon indicates. In this case, it's melee key damage. This one happens to have 2. It has imbue corruption and it has melee damage versus 0 key enemies. But beyond that, our secondary is fixed. There's only going to be 1 on white gear. Once we go up to yellow gear and blue gear, we'll have 2. So this one has damage bonus, familiarity, and break. This one has attack bonus and strong attack key damage. When we go up to purple, we'll have 3. In this case, life drain, gold earned, and grapple. And lastly, when you get up to divine, you'll have 4, which is why outside of my little, my little shape there, I also have high attack, life drain, attack bonus, and guard key consumption. Another thing you'll probably notice is that with divine weapons, I have stuff that is way cooler looking than what you see on these lower tier weapons. Here we have, grapple damage and melee damage critical. Here we have attack bonus, constitution, imbue purity, life drain, melee attack, and guard key consumption. And so the point is, these divine weapons and divine gear and all this stuff, after you've beat the final boss for the first time, he's going to drop 1 divine weapon of every type, so you can kind of hit the ground running. And then you're going to go into New Game Plus and you're going to start farming divine gear, because that's what's going to have all these fixes that you need to turn your character into a god, kind of how you see in all the build videos I'm doing. Now, talking a little bit about New Game Plus will essentially ramp up the rewards. You'll get more Amrita, you'll get more gold, the mission level is higher, but the rewards are also better. Looking at this one, Calling of the Fire God, I haven't beat this one yet on New Game Plus, I just haven't bothered, but the very first time I do, I'm going to get a Divine Fire Axe, 7th Sword Tonfas, Divine Lightning Hatchets, and a Divine Lightning Switchglaive. And anytime you beat a mission for the first time, you're usually going to see divine stuff on it, kind of as you can see with me looking around here. If you don't get divine, you're going to get some good stuff. This one's purple and you get some ninja locks from it. That's extra skills. In addition, anytime you replay main missions, you're usually getting the stuff that you're going to that main mission for. In this case, it's going to give you a bunch of parts from Oni Shibata's set because he is the boss of this mission. Now, outside of getting all that gear, you're also going to start getting gear that has plus values on it. Plus values are what is going to unlock the remodel ability. Now, when it comes to remodeling, remodeling essentially will allow you to change the scaling on a weapon. If I were to take, let me go to a good example here. I guess we could just use hatchets. Let's just use this hatchet. So Taking this hatchet as an example, right now this is standard scaling on it. I have a B plus in skill, a D plus in magic, and a C plus over in courage. Now right now I'm on a magic build, so if I was to go down to this one, you can see the damage will go up to 1366, and that's because I have 99 in magic. I only have about 40 or so in courage, so if I do here, it'll be about 1244. Whereas when I leave it standard, it's 1275 because I'm actually getting more from the magic, whereas this is going to pull it from D plus to D. Now, you can also do this with a couple different things. Taking a look at this, for example, right now I have this remodeled for all the damage and magic, but I can hit triangle to select that and go here and actually get a pinch more damage because I'll have A minus in magic and B plus in constitution, and this build is late enough in the game that I actually have both of those stats at 99. Alternatively, if I just wanted to focus on leveling up skill, I could go right here. Now the damage is going to go down because I don't have a lot of skill, but I could do that and make this weapon scale with an A minus off of skill. Now, as for manipulating these plus values, that will occur in soul matching. Let's say I had a weapon that I really liked. Let's take this one, right? If I were to take this and pick any of these weapons, like this guy, for example, we'll unlock it, hit it. Actually, this one won't work because it's blue. I need to be at least purple. There we go. Here's a captain spear. We'll use this. And you can see the captain spear will now turn into a +1 captain spear. And you can take weapons all the way up to, basically as high as you can. I want to say right now the cap is probably about +10, but that's how I have weapons up. And you need to match them as you level them. So using some hatchets that I've set aside, if I take these warrior monk hatchets that are at 1275, you can see the +1 isn't going to do anything to them. They'll still be 1275. You can see that on the right side of the screen. If I take these other hatchets, though, you can see that they'll now go up to +4, and my base damage is going to go up to 1310. And this is how you make your weapons progressively stronger as you continue through the New Game Plus. In addition to that, along the lines of tempering, once you get into higher difficulties, that's when you're going to gain access to higher tiers of Umbrasight. Your base Umbrasight comes from breaking down gear. Quality Umbrasight you can get randomly as a drop, you can get it doing co-op, but namely, the most effective way to get it is you'll get guaranteed amounts of quality Umbrasight every single day if you do your Twilight missions. This applies to both New Game and New Game Plus. As for Fabled Umbrasight, you can combine 3 quality Umbrasight into 1 Fabled, and alternatively, every time you finish a main mission in New Game Plus, you'll also get 1 Fabled Umbrasight as a reward for your first time finishing it. Divine comes from combining 3 Fabled Umbrasight together. Now, obviously, this stuff will also be even better once we get new difficulties. Once we have Dream of the Demon, the Twilight missions there will probably just drop Fabled Umbrasight outright, so you have a consistent way to farm them. But that is how you get these higher tiers of Umbrasight, and those higher tiers is how you see stuff like attack bonus stamina, damage bonus agility. All of those abilities are in the game, but they're hidden behind higher tiers of Umbrasight that you just don't have access to for now. So the last thing I want to talk about is builds and how builds work. Now, once you're into late game, you have the hut, and we have a builds menu that's now opened up. Taking a look at the builds menu, you can see I have a couple of the different builds that I've made. I have Spear, Tonfa, there's Ninja. And essentially what this does is if I go here, I hit X, I hit Restore Build, it's going to cost 1 book of reincarnation, but it's going to restore my build to exactly what it was. I'll have 99 courage, I'll have 81 constitution. Any leftover Amrita I have, if I've gained levels, that'll just be waiting for me to spend, but it'll spec that on over. And this is important to differentiate from equipment sets, because on the main screen of equipment here, if I hit triangle, I have equipment sets. And right here, I actually have my Tonfa set, but you'll notice the ninjutsu capacity is 29 out of 10. That's because this current build does not have the stats to support this. So I could switch over to this and it'll tell me like, hey, some of the items aren't going to apply. Do you want to continue? And I can hit yes. And now I'm wearing all of my Tonfa gear. And I look like I'm ready to go out and fight with Tonfas, but I don't have the stats for Tonfas right now. So this is essentially where you would want to save, say, a boss farming set versus a, mission set. Like 1 set for running through missions, maybe 1 set for doing co-op, maybe a different set that you want to use when you're trying to farm item drop, or a different set for equipment drop. But all of these sets will typically apply to 1 primary loadout that you're using. Whereas if you go into the builds menu, which once again won't unlock until New Game Plus, that will save everything, including your stats. Now, of course, this is going to cost a book every time you do it. You're probably wondering, where am I getting all these books? We go to Blacksmith, we go to buy, and you can buy the books right down at the bottom. Now the cost will keep increasing up to 1 million. Once you get to 1 million, the cost will not go up anymore, but you can still buy the books for 1 million a pop every time. Alternatively, we can also get the books over in the tea house. The tea house is unlocked later in the game, not New Game Plus, but later in the game. And over at the tea house here, we can go to trade, go down to the bottom, and you can see I can buy a book for 5,000 glory. That is also the price cap for how expensive they get. On the note of the tea house, you'll probably notice that all the rare materials you need to craft all these crazy sets that I'm making, they're all right here for sale. There's absolutely no point in trying to farm something for soul cores to break down the soul cores to get the stuff when you can just buy the mats with glory. And I have 62,000 glory. I'm not running out anytime soon. You get glory from doing co-op. You get it from killing revenants. You get tons of glory as long as you're just playing the game. So the point being that there is a lot of stuff waiting for you once you get into New Game Plus. There's levels of min-maxing on gear and customizing your stuff to become, super potent and have all these different bonuses that you want and a bunch of guardian spirits and all kinds of awesome stuff, but you just got to get to that difficulty first. One last thing I want to touch on, which isn't a New Game Plus thing, but this is another question I see a lot, and it's about unlocking skills and why you can't get skills in your skill tree. This is just simply not playing the game enough. So if we go to the dojo here, we can see we have a couple different things here. For example, Way of the Ninja Novice. You have to be, you'll unlock this after a couple regions. Once you do this, you can then gain access to Way of the Ninja Adept. You need 30,000 ninjutsu proficiency. After that, Way of the Veteran Ninja, where we need 100,000 ninjutsu proficiency. And then after that, if we go all the way to the bottom, we have the One Who Lives in the Shadows, 200,000 ninjutsu proficiency. And completing these missions, I need 120 for Whirlwind, 120 for this one. This is Odachi, this is Tonfa, this is Switchglaive. This is how you unlock those mystic arts in your trees, are the final missions here. In addition, these lower tier missions, your stuff like Way of the Warrior Novice, Way of the Warrior Adept, and Veteran, that is how you unlock those additional abilities in your skill trees that seemingly are out of reach. So, quite simply, pretty much everything in the game that you don't think you have access to, or you don't think you can do, or you're wondering how to unlock it and why you can't unlock it, the question to almost every single one of those questions is either you haven't played the game enough, or don't worry about it until New Game Plus. Your first playthrough of this game should be enjoyable. You want to take your time, you want to find skills that you like, you want to min-max your armor a little bit, but don't worry about all the other stuff, y'all. Like, the time will come when you'll gain access to all this, but on your first playthrough, it's just not worth the stress of worrying about all this stuff. Yes, I have a lot of crazy builds that are capable of all kinds of damage, but when I say a lot of these builds are targeted for New Game Plus, it's because that's really where the gameplay begins. That's where you really embrace Nioh and make it your own game and find a build that completely fits your needs perfect. So that's going to wrap up this video. Hopefully you guys learned a couple things watching this. There's so many people stressing out about stuff, and it's like, y'all just don't worry about it. So either way, I'm going to wrap this one on up. I got to get the Omio build put together. You probably saw a little bit of it here, but I wanted to get this out to address a lot of the questions I've been seeing. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time with more Nioh 2.